I'm Jack Nichols and welcome to Highlights Eurosport.
Who's going to break his next world title?
Can these two go?
He's going to do it, his first victory.
The World Championship is done. What a race it's been.
Hello and welcome to Austin, Texas for the 9th and penultimate round of the 2024 Formula SimRacing Academy Championship, the United States Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas. Last time out at Spa-Francorchamps, Go Team's Peter Knapp took his 4th victory of the season from pole position to extend his championship lead over Dan Ove Brandholm to 12 points. His teammate Giuseppe Saracino was just 2 tenths behind him at the finish, and Team GG's Giuseppe Canzonieri was 3rd, allowing him to overtake Cedric Bill for 3rd in the points table. My name is Edward Hunter, and alongside me for qualifying and 39 laps of racing action is El Presidente himself, Cameron Rodger. Cam, Peter Knapp needs to gain 13 points on Brandholm and 5 points on Canzonieri to win the Academy Championship today. What challenges await the Slovakian and indeed the rest of our 17-car field today at this 5.5-kilometer circuit?
I think the biggest thing today is going to be the temperatures out there. It's the hottest race of the season, even hotter than Singapore, just due to the timing of the year that we did it. Singapore was obviously way back in April. Now we're here in July, middle of the summer in Texas, and that's going to heat up the tyres quite a bit and is going to make the longevity very, very difficult indeed. So it's going to be, I would assume, 2 stops for everyone today, and that makes it in some ways actually quite good for the strategy. But yeah, certainly not going to be an easy one to keep the tyres more than 10 laps. Yeah,
you've quite literally got to keep your cool then in this sweltering heat in Texas then. And of course, a reminder, if Peter Knapp does not seal the championship today, he will get another chance at the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka on the 4th of August then. So that should be another fantastic round to look forward to, no matter what, to end our Academy Championship. It's sad we're so close to the end, but we have got quite the finale lined up, in fact, on all 3 of our series. But of course, it's Academy that we've got to deal with first. And before we race first, we've got to deal with qualifying. And that is already underway with 7.5 minutes remaining.
Yeah, and of course, qualifying is going to be important for the track position, because despite having a couple of long straights around here, it's actually not the easiest to overtake, because of course in sector 1 you've got to keep close through the long S's section and then come in towards the end of sector 2, sector 3. You've got that sort of stadium section as well, where it's very tricky in all those slow speed corners. So it's not going to be the easiest one, and the DRS zone is very, very short. Only one down the back straight, as you'd expect, but it's very, very short. So you are going to have to dump a lot of your push pass to try and make an overtake today, and that of course just adds a bit of bit more thinking for the drivers as they try and get themselves through to the end of the race. And here's how the standings look.
Yep, indeed it is. So Peter Knapp leading on 127 points, 12 ahead of Dan Ove Brandholm for Valet on 115. So Dan Ove Brandholm, who did lead the championship early on, has sort of been jumped in recent rounds by Peter Knapp and is fighting. They're already fighting to stay in it. There's a lot of pressure on our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place men. In 3rd, of course, Giuseppe Canzonieri, who spent so many races early in the season waiting to get that podium, and now he's got 2 in the last 3 rounds. And then we got Cedric Bill for Go Team, who, of course, was been very, very consistent throughout the season. Got 2nd place at Singapore, but has sort of been in the middle of the top 10 otherwise. So getting good, consistent points, but not quite enough to challenge for wins. In 5th, Netrex's Kostas Galnamatis, the Greek driver, a little bit adrift of the title fight, but in a very, very solid 5th position. Giuseppe Saracino, who won 2 races and was 2nd last time out in Spa, but otherwise he's not had a great deal of good fortune and had to miss a couple of races too. So he's equal with Ruben van den Hudding on 71 points in the battle for 6th. In 8th, it's Gresiak Luxak on 47 points. 2 points ahead of Ground Effect's Nandor Masa, who's the sole Ground Effect entry this entire season. And Massimiliano Riboli rounds out the top 10 on 44 points, just another point behind for Valet.
But unfortunately for Massi at the end there, he's actually going to be missing the final couple of rounds, unfortunately, and he's going to be replaced by Rasmus Andreasen, of course, previously of Burst Esport, but is now coming back.
So you know him quite well, Cam.
To
Yeah,
to get back into the racing cockpit. Well, actually, he's been back for a little while now. He was racing with TX3 over in the Virtual Endurance Championship, but obviously that's finished now. So he's looked for a new team, and he's found a home at Valet. And I think you can say as well, Ed, Valet are probably one of the best teams out there at the moment in our space in terms of just what they're doing in multiple different championships.
Indeed, they're especially endurance, but they've started to bring it in singles. Remember, they were the Academy champions by a single point, admittedly, but that was still enough to get them across the line in the Academy Championship in the teams table in 2022, of course. But at the moment, they're currently 7 points behind Go Team, the Swedish squad, of course, who themselves have had a pretty excellent season with Saracino, Knapp, and Bill scoring a lot of points, but also Luxak and Andrew Harizoa also bringing in some of the minor points as well. But here we go, qualifying is halfway complete. There is Brandfarm snaking his way through the S's in the first sector. That's turns 3, 4, 5, and 6, of course. Now into 7 and 8, where it starts to go uphill. And Brandfarm, of course, is half a second down on Peter Knapp, who set up 1:35.2, which is very, very close to the best time he's been doing in the practice sessions as well. So Peter Knapp is absolutely excelling at the moment, and Brandfarm, it's all down to him to really keep the challenge up. Second place in the race would be enough to keep the title fight alive. He needs to, if Peter Knapp wins, he needs to finish 4th or better to stay in championship contention. But if he's 5th or worse, then he is out of it, and Peter Knapp is going to come away with that Academy Championship in his back pocket. And
realistically, he needs to beat him as well, because it's not just about not losing the points, it's about gaining and having some sort of advantage. And hope when you come to Japan in a couple of weeks' time, as we're on board with Hughes. He's gone purple in the middle sector, and out of the final corners, a very, very short run to line. He's going to be able to improve himself up towards the top. No, just second place. With that huge time from him, but still a very good showing from Hughes.
Exactly, and Josh Hughes, who had some promising showings at Silverstone and Imola early in the season, but unfortunately crashed out in both races, having a fantastic qualifying lap there, and that's exactly what Daniel Brandfarm did not want to see. Another interloper getting involved in, or sort of interrupting the title fight, as it were. But for Josh Hughes and SimSpark, who've not had a great deal to shout about this season, that is a fantastic headline time for them.
And for a team that has not had the strongest of results, that's going to be very good. How do you overcome a half a second gap, though? Because there's quite a few drivers, actually, all within a couple of tenths of each other, from Hughes down to Andreasen and from P2 to P7. But then they need another half a second up to Knapp. And with the way the circuit is, actually, it's quite normal to see some bigger times, because there's a lot of tricky little braking zones and slow speed exits, and that's really where you gain time. In places like Silverstone, the lap times are always really close because there's only like 4 braking zones and everything's really fast, where you can't really gain or lose much time. But here, especially like this corner now, you're seeing Hughes in, and then the whole stadium section, you can literally lose 2/10 a corner if you're not quite confident enough.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really about knowing exactly how much grip you've got through some of these slower sections as well, and also being able to hold on during the faster corners as well, without losing the rear end, essentially. As we see Peter Knapp throwing down the gauntlet once more, 1:35.106 to go 6.5 tenths quicker than Josh Hughes. So you say, how can they gain half a second? Well, they've got to gain 6 tenths now, another additional 10.5 then. There's no easy answers for these drivers. I think it's really just down to maximizing where they're strong, because middle sector was okay. Was a little bit. It was 37.9, wasn't it? Middle sector for Peter Knapp there. So I think everywhere else he was setting purple. So that might be the only place where they can maybe make inroads, but I doubt they're going to find a whole half a second in that alone.
And to come to the end of the session as well, the final couple of laps are coming in green times, I should say, for quite a few drivers coming in. So that means that they are improving themselves, and let's see if they are able to complete that by the end of the lap. I mentioned it's very hot out there on track 56, track temp 35, almost ambient, hottest of the year, and the tyres are going to be struggling a lot by the time we get to the end of the lap.
Here we go, crucial lap for Dan Brandfarm to try and launch himself onto the front row. Peter Knapp has gone into the pits already. He doesn't think he can go any faster than 135.1, or if he can, he hasn't got the time to. And Brandfom, unfortunately, does not improve in that middle sector there. 38.3 is his current lap time then. And but Josh Hughes is going slightly faster than that at the present moment then. So it's all going to come down to this final sector. Can he gain those thousandths of a second that he needs to get onto the front row and to limit the damage here? No, Dano Brandfom is heading back into the pits, so it will be no better than third for him. And Cedric Bill is going quite quickly out there as well. Personal best in both the first two sectors then. Can he jump Giuseppe Canzonieri, who's fighting with for third in that championship, as Hughes spins across the line triumphantly? But here is Cedric Bill, and he's looking strong to get fourth position here.
He certainly is. Just 2 corners to go, using all of the curb on the entry and some on the exit as well, in towards a very tricky final corner here. Easy to overshoot. Does that rather nicely, though, up towards the line. Can he get himself on that front row? What's it going to be? No, it is going to be the third row and 5th place for the Go Team driver, as his teammate is obviously on that pole position. No one's going to be challenging, but still a couple of improvements out.
Yep, certainly not done just yet. Canzonieri is finishing his own time as Luca Filen abandons that lap, but it's still going to be 8th, which is the best of the optimal entries. Oh, no, he's actually still going, sorry. I think I got a bit confused there, but round he goes, and I think that is well and truly a cooked lap for Luca Filen then. Certainly the rear tyre is looking a bit cooked, but Andreasen in the Valet does qualify just ahead of him by 21 thousandths of a second, as Filen is now just showing off how much he can damage the car at high speed there through, that must be turn 18 then.
Yeah, fortunately, no damage repair costs in FSR. Otherwise, his team wouldn't be too happy about that. But it does look like Peter Knapp is going to be on that front row with Josh Hughes, but a huge 0.6 of a second between P1 and P2. There's another 0.6 all the way down to P12. Just showing you how much of a gap that was for Peter Knapp. So he's looking good to win the championship today, but he does need to go through 39 grueling laps around a very tough circuit. And with the added temperature, that's going to be difficult. And of course, there's a slightly new track version as well that we're using compared to previous years. A few different changes, one we haven't been to for about 5 years in FSR, and it's certainly not going to be the easiest race.
Yep, it's certainly going to challenge the drivers in many different ways, with the heat, with the fast corners, with the different strategies that are almost certainly going to come into play, as they tend to do in Academy. But shall we very, very quickly then launch through the qualifying order then, now that it's complete? With, of course, Peter Knapp starting at the very, very front on pole position, a fantastic lap, 135.106 to launch himself to the front. Josh Hughes really upsetting the apple cart with a fantastic underdog performance there. 135.7 to be just, well, I say just, but it's a massive 6.5 tenths behind, but certainly closer than anybody else got to Peter Knapp's pole time. Dano Brandfom in third, and the danger there is that he's got 2 very, very quick drivers right behind him in the form of Canzonieri and Bill. And if both of them jump him at the start, then Brandfom could find his championship, and a huge amount of that title bid could go into massive jeopardy before the final round even begins. And Canzonieri just beat Cedric Bill to 5th, of course, and then it's the other 2 valets of Ruben van den Hudding in 6th, Rasmus Andreasen on his first appearance in a while in 7th. Luca Filen is 8th for Optimal. Costas Gallimatis is 9th for Netrex. Joe Gillette on his debut filling in for Scarpelli at Optimal Esports gets into the top 10, just 1.1 seconds off the pace, so Joe will be satisfied with that. Nando Massa just misses out on the top 10 in 11th. Then it's Perseus Miram for Gothenburg GP. Davide Zanini in 13th for Team GG. Olivia Demolians 14th in the third Optimal. Gerlof de Vries 15th for Evolution Motorsport. Then it's Lucas Viscott for LR Conquest in 16th. And Terry Crawford for SimSpark bring up the rear in 17th position.
Absolutely, and it's nice to see. Obviously, the drivers are still continuing. We did have a month's break between Spa and the United States here, virtue of F1 having that triple header. So obviously, in some ways, a bit longer to prepare for this race, but in other ways, I'm sure people would have been on holiday and things like that. And then coming back for the final couple of races of the season, they have to then get themselves back into race winning mode, hopefully, for those drivers. But with points going down to 15th, Ed, in reality, basically everyone is going to be scoring points today, but who are going to be the unlucky few to miss out?
Well, it's tough to say. I think I'd be very surprised if we get through the whole race and there aren't any big collisions because Coda tends to be a track that encourages that. That sort of some might go for a marginal move, or I think things just tend to get physical, and that does lead to exciting racing for us, but it doesn't always lead to ideal outcomes for some of the drivers. But yeah, I certainly. I expect some of the more sensible drivers to take it easy on the first couple of laps and then profit when things happen ahead of them. Certainly the likes of Terry Crawford especially, but Luca Viscott as well, very, very quick driver. If he can stay out of trouble, he could probably get a lot of points out of this one as well. And then you've got your likes of your Gerloff de Vries, your Zaninis, who are a little bit troublemakers early in the season that have been slowly getting it together. And then Joe Gillette, complete unknown in 10th position. It'd be interesting to see how he gets along. And Josh Hughes got stuck on the front row. If Josh Hughes could get onto the podium, what a dream result that would be for SimSpark, who are in 11th on the championship and only 9 points at the moment. Them and Evolution could get very, very close together if Josh Hughes can score some decent points today.
Yeah, that's true. Talking of the Constructors' Championship, yeah, it's actually looking fairly close for a couple of these positions, so nothing being sorted out today. Although that is actually virtue of, for instance, Go Team Racing. They moved Peter Knapp to their second team, Gothenburg GP, but then he obviously got all those points and now he's gone back. So I guess they were trying to make sure they got a 1-2, or at least attempted a 1-2 in the Constructors' Championship. They are 1-3 at this moment.
Okay, I got confused by this as well at Silverstone. What I believe happened, because I talked to Knapp about this, and he said that he thought he was going to be unavailable for some of the later races in the season, so they decided to swap him and Cedric Bill, who of course started at Gothenburg GP and now drives for the main Go Team squad. And then Knapp became available again, so he just ended up in the Gothenburg GP seat and did a couple of races there. And now, of course, he's in potentially a title-winning position. He's moved back to the main Go Team. So I don't think it was planned out that way. It's a little bit messy, but it's sort of this is how it's happened, and that is why Valle are so close to them, because they've sort of been leaving a couple of easy points on the table and giving them to the second team, essentially. So that's why they're 1-3 at the moment instead of 1-5 or 1-7 or whatever it would have been. So
not only did he think he wasn't going to be here for the rest of the season, but he might win both the Constructors and the Drivers' Championship. That is quite a feat, but definitely shows you where he's going, and I'm sure he'll be moving up to pro in the very near future with the pace that he is with the pace that he's showing this year. Because of course we've got the pro race a bit later on today as well, where his teammate Patrick Severt is looking to continue on. So Go Team and Valle. They're 1 and 2 in both Pro and Academy. So they're probably the standout teams this season.
Indeed they are, and it is their first season as well. Let's not lose sight of that. So they've definitely been very, very impressive. And a lot of after every race, they always seem to have a report on social media of how they got on. So they're certainly very, very proud of their record, and rightly so. Speaking of Peter Knapp in Pro, he's already substituted in 3 Pro races this season, and he finished 10th in the Pro race at Imola in San Marino, of course. So certainly he's already dipped his toes in those waters already. So the Academy to Pro pipeline is very much in evidence there. But it's only a few moments to go now before the start of the race. And with these hot temperatures, 56 degrees is what I'm looking at the moment, Cam. Are we expecting pretty much everyone to start on harder compounds of tyres, or do you think a couple of people will be brave, like Josh Hughes, and gamble on the softs maybe?
Well, let's have a look. Of course, they're all going to be on hard straightaway, but actually we'll get to that after the grid.
Yeah, so Peter Knapp and Josh Hughes make up the front row, with Dano Branfom and Giuseppe Canzonieri, our 2 other title contenders, on row 2. Row 3 is Cedric Bill, just trying to keep those title hopes alive, 26 points down ahead of Ruben van den Hudding in the Valley. Then it's Rasmus Andreasen in 7th on his return, with Luca Filin in 8th. Row 5 is Costas Galnamatis with newcomer Joe Gillette alongside him. Then it's Nando Massa in leading row 6 from Perseus Miram. Row 7, Davide Zanini ahead of Olivier Demoliens. Then on row 8, it's Gerloff de Vries with Lucas Viscott just behind him. Finally, in 17th position, who else but SimSpark's very own Terry Crawford.
And as the tyres are starting to come in, we do see a couple of soft tyre runners for Nando Master and Perseus Miram down in the back third of the grid. So they're going to be potentially making some progress. I'm not surprised by a lot of drivers seemingly being on the hards with the temperatures, but I would say with 39 laps, a one stop isn't going to be possible. So it just depends then how you want to work out. If it's a two stop, then you're going to be going somewhere in the region of, what's that going to be, about 13 laps a stint. So you still need to go a decent way. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's sort of a hard and a couple of mediums in there, maybe a couple of hards and a medium, something along those lines. So to take the soft, maybe go double hard at the end, it's going to be something an interesting one with how they're going to push in that first stint. But look for the people on the mediums to try and maybe jump Nap at the start. So Hughes and Brentholm on that first and second row in behind Nap. They're going to be very important in this race if they can get ahead of him.
Exactly, and Brantholm really rolling the dice with the mediums there, and he sort of has to, because like you say, third, it's going to be more points lost to Peter Napoli. He wants to give himself the best possible chance of fighting for that championship at Suzuka on the 4th of August, of course. But yeah, Nando Master going for the softs does not surprise me whatsoever, because that is such a ground effect strategy, if I can say so, because it always seems in, especially Pro and Academy, but sometimes even in World Championship, it's ground effect that always gamble on the soft tyre, even if nobody else goes for it, because they always seem to just prefer it for some reason or other. Hope Nando Master can put on some spectacular overtakes, and Perseus Miram for that matter as well.
Seems like we've had a driver drop out, so there's only 16 drivers taking the start, but it looks like it's going to be Peter Knapp there on the provisional pole position alongside Josh, who's on his first ever front row start.
Yeah, I think we may have lost Costas Galnamatis then, unfortunately, but the race about to begin any second now. The lights coming on, and we'll be underway for Academy here at the Circuit of the Americas. Oh, engine smoking, and oh, was that a jump start from Josh Hughes? He rocketed away off the line there. Everyone's engine just starting to wilter in the heat as there's somebody pulling off. It's Van den Hudding who's destroyed his engine and has had to pull to a stop before they even get to the first corner there. But up front, Josh Hughes has kept the engine temperatures under control and is leading the race from Peter Knapp there. We expected Hughes to really go for it at the start. I don't think we expected that, Cam.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a mixture of Hughes maybe jumping at the start, but also Knapp having a slow start. But look at the jump, 1.5 seconds just in this first sector. Hughes knows what he's doing apparently around this track. Very fast in qualifying and is translating that to the race pace. So Knapp already down into second place, and Brantholm also on the medium tyres, the same as Hughes, now trying to get past him. This could be important if both the medium runners get ahead of the hard and weaving down the straight to try and defend.
Here we go, crucial. Our two title contenders in the tow of one another. Here comes Dano Brantholm to the outside of Peter Knapp. A crucial move to get through here on the outside. And there we go, plenty of room left from Peter Knapp. He could not risk a collision there with the title at stake. And that puts the valet driver up to second now and free to chase down Josh Hughes.
And that was important. That's also why they chose the medium tyres, was to try and get this jump in the first stint. And it's up to 2 seconds for Josh Hughes. He was saying in the Discord that he was struggling with the tyre wear this much. Then that maybe makes sense. Was that off the track there for a couple of drivers? Hopefully that's just a couple of minor internet issues and not them actually, yes it is, fortunately, and not actually proper issues. So they continue out around onto lap number 2. And of course, we've got Bill in behind in 4th place with Thailand there, also very close for 4th and 5th.
Yeah, not a great start for Canzonieri, dropping to 7th for Team GG. But as you say, Bill up to 4th and Thailand up to 5th. Unfortunately, we have lost one of the Optimal drivers, Joe Gillette, who was looking to start from 10th position, disconnected right before the light sequence began there. So big disappointment for Joe Gillette. Let's hope he comes back for another go at Suzuka, because I can tell you from experience, very, very quick driver. But meanwhile, Josh Hughes continues to set purple first sectors here after setting the fastest lap of the race on the first lap. Yeah, he's certainly not worrying too much about tyre wear at the present moment. But Peter Knapp staying very, very close to the back of Brantholm, and that could be crucial if the mediums start to wear quicker than expected. The hards could well be the tyre to be on once we get to lap 8 to 10 or so.
Yeah, Hughes has done the good thing. He's up to 3 seconds. He's absolutely smoking off into the distance. But the good thing for him is he's completely out of even slipstream range, let alone DRS range. Whereas Brandholm, he's still got Nap there. So when DRS comes into effect on the next lap, that's going to be a tricky one for him to hold him behind. And we know Nap's probably got a good couple of tenths in hand in terms of raw pace, because he had a 6/10 gap in that qualifying session. So he's certainly looking very fast indeed. And up and down the field, we're pretty much an equal split between mediums and hards, maybe a couple more hard tyres. But the sole runner on the softs is Nandor Massa, still coming in ninth place, but contact is made as Nap goes into the back of Brandholm.
Oh dear, what a dramatic moment there. And could that spell the end of Dano Brandholm's title bid there? And it was just a little miscommunication there between Nap and Brandholm, where the front touched the rear of Brandholm, and it's difficult to really apportion blame having just seen it live there, but that's going to be very, very controversial either way you look at it, and that potentially puts Peter Nap into a title-winning position.
And it's a bit of a NASCAR bump and run there, where it is actually going to affect him, in two ways, not just on the track today, but also in the championship. And a bit of a shame there for Brandholm, because there's been a few races this season where he's had to come through the field, and that's such a shame. But Nap goes in a little bit deep there as well as he comes off to the left-hand side. Is he struggling with those brakes a little bit? He's actually slowing down. Is this to give the place back? He's got to, if it is, he's going to have to wait a long, long time for Brandholm. Yeah,
Brandholm down in 11th position, of course. There goes Andreasen in the leading valley. He's under attack from Massa into turn 12 there. And there's Brandholm just behind Gerloff de Vries then. So Peter Nap now goes back up to full speed, and Olivia Demolian saying, "Oh, can I have a free position as well?" But that's an extremely generous display of sportsmanship there. Peter Nap could have fought it out in the steward's room, but this, in his mind, I think, should prevent investigation or post-race penalty that would be hanging over him. So fair play either